Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Coach in Business. Today, we are going to talk about mentoring, what mentoring is, what you should take care of if you want to introduce a mentoring program, and which benefits it will lead to if introducing such a mentoring program. Basically, what mentoring means in general, it means that you have a more experienced individual, which means that you have higher responsibilities, which means that you have probably more quality in your knowledge, which means that you are capable of taking care of younger, not as experienced individuals. So, mentoring means that a more experienced individual is taking care of a less experienced individual. Well, what are the advantages in general of such a mentoring program? There are advantages for all participants. So there are advantages for the mentor as well as the mentee, so the client basically, as well as advantages for the whole organization when introducing such a mentoring program. Advantages for the client, for the mentee. The onboarding process increases dramatically. So if you're new, if you come into a company, what happens is that you have to learn everything. You have to adapt to new systems. You have to learn who is important, who is not. You have to go out with people. You have to learn processes basically. With a mentor, the onboarding process, the general as well as the more specific, will be the speed will be increased. In general, by this, you will increase your speed of development and learning. Um, you will probably, as a mentee, not repeat mistakes which were done before, because a mentor will be able to provide you insights on how to avoid certain mistakes, certain major mistakes, and you as a mentee will develop a general grade of self-perception, with self-perception being some kind of insights into yourself and your development. When it comes to advantages of the mentor, it will increase the effectiveness of leadership. So being a mentor for younger generations, for less experienced individuals, means that you will be able to provide your knowledge, your experience in a more channeled way, and not only based on situations when by accident you were in a leadership situation. So it's more goal oriented. It's more leadership oriented. Um, a second advantage is that satisfaction of own developmental process will increase. So one important point within the developmental process of each human being, of course of older individuals, is to provide, to teach younger generations, less experienced generations, with the wisdom which you have built over time as a mentor. So this task as a general developmental task, so providing insights into life to younger generations, will be fulfilled by a mentoring program, will in general lead to fulfilling a specific step in the developmental process of a human being. And then we have the advances for the organization. We have a organized platform for knowledge sharing. So it's in general a platform, a structure, a process which is standardized, where employees, mentors, and mentees can exchange information, basically in both directions, but of course the mentor should be the one who is providing information to the mentee. And what is important, it increases cooperation and communication vertically. So what happens is that people always, especially in bigger corporations, they communicate within the next level, the next higher, or the next lower level, and they communicate on the same level. So if you are, for example, a head of department on fourth level, you will communicate with other heads of departments, maybe at some point with your lead, maybe at some point with the employees below you, with the team leads. But what you will not do as frequently, you will not communicate to the more important employees. Well, um, yes, and introducing a mentoring program leads to cooperation and communication in a vertical manner. So it helps to get higher top level managers to talk to and discuss things with lower level employees. So if there are only advantages, why not to introduce a mentoring program by today in every company? Well, it is work and time consuming. So if you work in a company where your hours are important because they have to be built, for example, taking part in a mentoring program as a mentor or a mentee is work and time consuming and might lead to, yes, prioritization, deleting it from the agenda. Second mistake is that goals are not specified, so that you introduce a mentoring program just because I told you so. It's not the best idea. It's even a worse idea, so it might not be a good idea to have a mentoring program in your company because of specific circumstances. So it depends really on the company, it depends really on the situation, and it depends on the goals that you are trying to achieve. So if you have goals to develop younger generation leaders in order to replace the older generations might feel a little bit jealous or even might act in a contradicting way when it comes to your own goals as a company. So it depends really on the goal you set for the mentoring program. Then we have the acceptance level of the initiative. So a mistake might be to not let everybody who is a participant in the mentoring program to be a participant in the mentoring program. The fourth one is endorsement of the initiative. So if you have a big company, if you have a corporation, at some point you will need people who will endorse the initiative because you will not be able to reach everybody at every level in your company. So you will need people who will endorse such things as your mentoring program. Then we have the possibility of exclusion of people. So if you want to take part in a mentoring program because it is available at your company, but you are not chosen by any mentor, then, well, it might produce the feeling of exclusion, of lower value. Then we have the lack of visible external motivation. So we assumed that introducing a mentoring program might be time and work consuming. At some point, external motivators might help to jump over such barriers as work and time. And as well, what might be a problem, what might be an issue, is an unspecified process of choosing mentor-mentee combinations. So there might be some favorites. Everybody has favorites. There might be some connections already made, mentors and mentees. So it should be pretty transparent how mentor-mentee pairs are chosen. And at some point, it might be even a good idea to have them participate in the selection process. Well, so we have some issues. We have some what should we take a look at when introducing such a mentoring program. Next step is to have some kind of how to implement guide. So what have to be taken care of is top management support, which means that well, everything comes from the top management. If you want something to work, the top management needs to endorse it. So they have to promote it in a proactive way, which is kind of self-evident because in a mentoring program, the top management is pretty much the most experienced, probably the most experienced individual, or are the most experienced individuals. So what this means is that they have to promote the initiative as well as they have to take part in it proactively. And well, the cultural shift which is necessary for all the employees to accept such an initiative is that the top management yes, endorses it. Then we have to include external consulting into the process. So this means that we have to at some point organize the process of selection of mentor-mentees, of goal-oriented process within such a program. We have to teach stakeholders what it means. So the mentors need to know what it means to be a mentor. The mentee need to know what benefits they can take out of such a relationship. they should guide through such a process, because at some points, for example, if a mentor is very task oriented, but the mentee is very relationship oriented, there might be conflicts between both of them when it comes to how leadership should be enacted in practical terms. So at some point it might be necessary to have some kind of guidance and education through the process. Next one is a general resistance to change. So if you introduce such a mentoring program, what it might mean is that people might just be against it because new is always worse. In this case, it is very important just to be transparent. So to introduce such a platform, to make it in a transparent way, to discuss fears and suggestions, and to make room for those suggestions and improvement. So how to decrease a general change resistance is to be transparent and let people be part of it. And then we have the second point, which comes from basically psychology and group psychology. What you need to do is to accompany and put light on the process. So you have to tell people how the process is individually managed and how the organization takes place of such a mentoring program, and as well as show them the development of such an initiative. So how you have made next steps week by week and week by week. The next one, the next step which you should go when introducing such a program is the organizational ownership of such an initiative. This means that at some point there should be somebody who is responsible for the whole program. So what if something does not work? What if a mentor is not available though he or she is supposed to be? What if younger leaders or younger future leaders are not willing to accept older generations' leadership? What if? So if you have an organizational ownership, it means that you make sure that you have somebody who's responsible, who makes sure that the ship is sailing in the right direction. Who can take over change requests? So if there are change requests, if you want to change your mentor, for example, a ownership might be helpful. Next one is always, as with every initiative, is to set goals. So make sure to have the right points addressed at the beginning. So do not change things within the process. If you need to change things, but do not do it too frequently. So have your goals set at the beginning, have your goals communicated transparently, and try to follow the goals which were defined, in best case, by participation of all participants. And make sure to have everybody aligned under the goal. So if you let your employees, mentors, and as well mentees participate in the goal definition process of such a mentoring program, at the end the acceptance rate will be much higher. Again, why should you introduce such a mentoring program? Basically, if you want to increase leadership effectiveness. So what will happen is that you will develop that you will help in self-development of the leader because of the developmental steps which he or she will make, because of self-reflection processes which will occur when it comes to your own leadership style. Wisdom will be forwarded to younger generations, so wisdom will not die out of the company. Leaders will learn what their own impact is from a direct feedback loop, so from a feedback loop of their mentees. And of course, mentoring increases the probability of getting onto a higher level. So if you are a mentor, it will probably help you to get to a higher level. If you are a mentee, it will help you to get to a higher level because you will get insights from higher levels and how it looks like. From a company perspective, it is helpful for further development of employees. So from a company level, such an initiative is always helpful when it comes to structuring the developmental process of employees. When it comes to the private level, mentoring might not be something which you introduce as a initiative, but mentoring in general might be a good idea to pursue your own goals. How? I think that basically everybody knows somebody who is achieving more than yourself, who is getting better grades, who is earning more, who gets better rates at work. So who in general gets the better results? Who, yeah, I don't know, had more success in younger times. So if you know such a person, probably you have already adjusted to him or her at some point. So you've tried to buy similar clothes. You've introduced the same haircut style. You wore the same shoes, for example. What you can do in private life is to take a more comprehensive and more work-related look at how your best friends, how people to whom you think of as leaders, how they act in daily life, how they act in when it comes to their behaviors, how they act in their work environment, and learn from their actions. This is basically the same process as small kids use to learn and to develop themselves into older human beings. So basically the mentoring approach, so learning from more experienced individuals and better experienced individuals, is a common way as well in private life as well as in work life. I hope to have described how to implement such a mentoring program, what to take care of in a mentoring program, and what advantages a mentoring program might lead to in a short clip. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Please comment, like, share. Yes, and contact me if you are interested in coaching, for example, within a mentoring initiative, or if you are interested in introducing a mentoring initiative. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye bye, and please have a laugh every day.